We've now are back to our remaining 3 alum showcase projects. And I'm going to start off with Aileen Lai. And Aileen Lai is the managing partner of Collab and is a 2023 MSRED graduate. Also in the audience today is Chen Wang, MSRED 2002, the founder and CEO of Collab. Chen, are you anywhere here? Right in the back, okay. Chen Wang, right in the back, with his managing partner, that's terrific. Through the use of technological inventions, Collab seeks to disrupt the traditional model of the residential real estate industry by removing traditional intermediaries. Collab tightens the relationship between tenants and investors through a combination of vertical integration, democratized investment, and decentralized task management. Aileen.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aileen Lai, the CEO of Collab, and also a proud MIT alum class of 2023. Collab was founded back in 2020, and since the past 5 years, we have been building the first community-based property management solution. So today I'm here to share with you all how we are transforming the 5.6 trillion residential rental housing market with the use of the community, technology, and also a little bit of the MIT grid. Okay. This might not be the right slide, so I'll just talk about it without the script. So for Collab, a lot of you might have been familiar with the property management industry. Either you have been a tenant who got frustrated by the leaky faucet that took weeks to fix, or a landlord, that you're chasing after your property managers for update. So we have all been very frustrated by the traditional property management because it has a lot of a layer of staffing and local offices that are adding cost to the landlord, and also is slowing everything down. And at the same time, the tenants got frustrated by the delays, and the traditional property management company find it very challenging to scale because it's very costly and time-consuming to build and maintain a new team. So at Collab, we are flipping the model. So how we're going to do it? Instead of hiring an on-site property full-time manager, we incentivize our tenants to take on those property management tasks. So something like showing the vacant unit, handling the light repairs, and also coordinating vendors. So we call those residents the community pros, or CPs, and we pay them $30 per hour to take on those tasks. So eventually, our tenants can gain money without leaving their building. And we are the Uber in real estate. Unlike typical PropTech companies like Appfolio, Buildium, or Yardi, they provide a SaaS solution to the traditional property manager. So we are here today to replace them entirely. So think about how Uber disrupt the traditional taxi industry. They are not providing software tools to support the taxi company, but instead, they redefine the model by turning the everyday driver into a service provider. So similar to Collab, we are turning our tenants to our paid contributor to manage their community by themselves. So again, Collab is not just a software tools, but we are bringing a new model to the property management. And our platform manages everything like secure access, task management, automated payment. It's simple, transparent, and also it's scalable. So what shines in our product is really about our re-architecture of the property management workflow. So traditionally, one property manager handles the entire workflow, starting from receiving the request from the tenants, identifying the issues, looking for vendors, and supervising the repairs, and making sure the task is being completed, and then paying the vendors, and also notifying the tenants that the task is completed. So that's a lot, right? And it's all handled by one single experienced property manager. And at Collab, we completely redesign the workflows. So we break every single repair and maintenance task into a smaller task. And then we match the macro task with our CP based on their experience, based on their skill set, and also their availability. So after deposing the task, you will find that how impressive that so many tasks can actually be done by people with minimal real estate experience. So just like checking the hallway light, and also opening the door for the vendors, that you don't need to know any real estate experience. So eventually, we don't hire one single property manager, but we activate the entire community to have them to participate in the property management world. And of course, during this transformation, we encounter a lot of challenges. So safety is the first one. Because we decentralize the operation and we engage multiple tenants into this property management task. So our solution is to introduce a new feature called Collab Shake. So with Collab Shake, we can verify the identity, we can control the unit access, and also we can provide like a full audit trail for every single task. And community management is the second challenge. It's about how we engage with our tenants and then how we communicate effectively with them. So that's why we are building an AI-enabled platform. It's not about automation, it's more about like a context-aware support. So the app will like recommend tasks based on the tenant's pattern, and also it will communicate with them, provide like a real-time communication so that they can complete the task like very efficiently. So as of today, Collab has built a 72 million portfolio across 13 properties in 4 markets in Berkeley, Houston, Boston, and also New Brunswick. And in 2024 alone, we have achieved a 1 million net income, and we did it without hiring one single on-site property manager. So what's next? Collab trying to be the top 3 property manager in the next 5 years, managing over 300,000 units. And then we are going to achieve this goal through our joint venture with local partners. So we did this way to expand to the new market a lot faster than our competitors. And at the end, this is our team. Chen Wang, as we just mentioned, is also our MIT alum. He had experience managing over 8 billion real estate portfolio across US and China. And also Bill Carrigal, he brings six companies into public through NASDAQ. And myself as a CEO has the experience with a 2 billion portfolio in the past. I'm so glad to have such an amazing team. We cannot do this without the right team here. So that's all about Collab, the Uber in real estate. And if you are excited about shaping the future of the rental housing, please reach out to me. Thank you, everyone.
Up next is Melissa Schrock. Melissa is the Executive Vice President of Mixed-Use Development at the HRP Group and a 2012 MSRED grad. Melissa leads HRP's national mixed-use development platform across 3 markets with a pipeline of 9 million square feet. Something worth noting is that Melissa, for nearly 4 years, has been co-teaching the Capstone Real Estate Development Studio course, something the Center for Real Estate is extremely grateful for. Today, however, she'll be showcasing 776 Summer Street, a 1.7 million square foot mixed-use project on 15 acres in South Boston. 776 Summer will turn the grand and storied space of the former Boston Edison power plant into a vibrant community destination. Melissa will now walk us through this one-of-a-kind mixed-use ecosystem of innovation and neighborhood activation. Melissa.
Thanks, Denise. Well, as Denise said, I was a 2012 graduate of the program. I actually did a dual degree with the DUST program, so I got a dual degree in MSRED and the MCP. Prior to that, I was an architect. I was a mid-career student in the graduate program here. And then after coming out, I basically pursued a career in urban development. I was lucky enough during the first 8.5 to 9 years of my career to build about 3 million square feet in this region. And for the last 4.5 years, as Denise said, I've been leading the mixed-use team at HRP. We specialize in basically reimagining and redeveloping former industrial sites like oil refineries, coal-fired power plants, steel mills, the really, really dirty dirt. This project, which if you are from the region, you're probably familiar with, is located in South Boston, not too far from the seaport, right over here, where there's obviously been a tremendous amount of redevelopment happening over the past decade plus. We bought this site in 2016. We paid $26 million for it, which is key to not paying very much for this kind of dirt, because there's a lot of work that goes into it. One of the things that I like to say to my team is you really cannot do this job unless you are an optimist. The story of this development, I think, will prove that out. We're probably about on the fourth inning. We love our baseball analogies in real estate. I would say we're probably in inning 4, the top of the fourth, probably at best, in this project today. But it has a very compelling, it seems to be going in and out, it has a very compelling history, including a period of time during which Thomas Edison himself owned the site. But it was really a critical piece of infrastructure in the region at the time when energy generation was really, becoming more and more important in what we were doing. It was really the birth of electrical generation and distribution. In fact, this site was the first in this region where AC power was produced as opposed to DC power. Those that know about the history of Edison versus Tesla, Edison was actually a DC guy, but he bought this property from the Boston Electric Light Company in 1902, and they were the ones that had produced AC power on the site. So we like to think that he was actually buying their technology and not just their dirt. Here you can see some of the you can see the coal actually here that was here. This is a coal-fired power plant. For 120 years, this thing functioned as a power plant until it closed down in 2006. We came along a decade later in 2016. Here you can see the engine room that was actually built by the Boston Electric Light Company. And then when Edison bought it in 1902, he started to rapidly expand it, and he left behind 3 beautiful turbine halls in addition to the original 1898 building that really formed the heart and soul of our future redevelopment strategy. We've spent the last 3 years demolishing what was there, which was the power plant. About 1.25 million square feet have been taken down. It took us about 3 years and $60 million to do that, but it enabled the site for future redevelopment. The project is designed in a phased fashion. These phases today have a lot more to do with their entitlement than their actual planned future construction, because as we have been moving through this project over the last 9 years, and I'll show a little bit of a timeline in a slide in a second, the market has changed. So don't think of these phases as construction phases. Think of them as the project was really entitled. So the first phase is largely commercial. large life science buildings on either side of a waterfront park, and then the turbine halls right down the center of the site you can see here. Phase 2 layers in another mix of uses, 3 residential buildings, a hotel, and of course, for good measure, 1 more R&D building, because why not? There you can see all of it together. In total, it's nearly 1.8 million square feet of GFA, about 630 housing units, 240 hotel keys are permitted here, and no shortage of R&D or office space, and nearly 1 million square feet. Here's that timeline I was mentioning. So you can see from acquisition, you can see from acquisition in 2016, shortly thereafter, about a year in, they started the formal entitlement process, put a small pre-development facility on it. It was purchased all with equity. I came along here when we launched the mixed-use development group at the end of 2020, right before the master plan was finally approved after a 4.5-year permitting process, in the middle of the global pandemic, which I know everyone remembers. Rates started to rise as we were completing our phase 1 master plan approval. There was a recapitalization at that moment. And, you know, that's when looking back historically, of course, no one knew that at the time, but that's actually when construction peaked in Boston and has come down every year since then. We re-extended our loan last year and had to pivot away from what was intended to be our first phase, which was the R&D space. The goal had been to start to construct that as we were finishing deconstruction, which took a year more than we thought, but cost about what we thought it was going to cost. Future, you know, these here in gray is what's coming. We will have another loan extension at the end of this year. We are currently permitting that phase 2, which includes all of the residential uses, and this is the key point: renegotiating all of the benefits that were frankly given away at the beginning of the process. So recasting the affordable housing agreement, looking for public participation in some of the creation of the infrastructure and other things right now. I think a lot of this probably resonates with a lot of you who are doing these kinds of projects right now, that these kinds of conversations are key to getting anything moving in this moment. I'm just going to walk very quickly around the project. This is the view from the waterfront. So you can see the Edison turbine halls here at the archway. And then this is an 1898 building that we're preserving. We're preserving in total 4 historic turbine halls. Those remain on the site. Everything else was taken down over the last 3 years. R&D building here, 380,000 square feet. The bottom 3 floors are actually CGMP capable as well. So if you know of any tenants, let me know. More traditional R&D building here, the form of which is largely shaped by the Chapter 91 waterfront jurisdictional regulations, but does give us the opportunity to do lots of great outdoor space. This one's about 280,000 square feet. Here's where we cut a road through the Edison turbine halls because they run literally the entire length of the site. So in order to create internal circulation and access, we are actually going to do something super interesting and cut a roadway through here. Here's a, oops, oh, that went fast. Here's a third R&D building here at the corner of Summer and East First Streets. Could be office. Cut a sidewalk through, this is Turbine Hall 3. This was the last of the Edison turbine halls. There's no sidewalk space out here today, so we're literally going to cut an arcade through the building and make that public sidewalk. Here's where the project will most likely start. This is out on the East First Street side, the neighborhood side. This is about a 200-unit residential building, coupled with a second 200-unit residential building. Those will likely go together. Our goal is to start these as soon as possible. The building in the middle is a hotel and residential building. It doesn't actually look like that. It looks a little more like this now. That was an older rendering. But these are the ones that are getting through the permitting process right now. You can see here's the southern side of that 1898 building, preserved largely as a hotel amenity space. So that's where the ballroom will be, the conference rooms, all of that. And then getting into the turbine halls themselves now, this is a pedestrian walkway we call turbine alley that stretches the entire length of the site. So you can come in from the neighborhood side, walk all the way down to the waterfront park, and you have all the uses inside the turbine halls that are spilling out into this space. This is the inside of that Edison turbine hall number 1, but will likely have some kind of entertainment use in the future. And then a restaurant and a new mezzanine that we're inserting. And we're trying to really preserve the great volume of space in these halls, but in this area, we'll actually be putting in a mezzanine for a very high-end restaurant here. And then lastly, actually preserving one of the final pieces of infrastructure that's left on the site from Thomas Edison. This is Edison Curtis vertical steam turbine number 8.
Okay, last but not least is Chris Whittier. Chris is an MSRED 2019 graduate and currently a senior director in Tishman Speyer's Boston office. He is serving as the lead project manager for the Enterprise Research Campus, ERC, in Allston, Mass. The client is Harvard University. It is a... Thank you, Larry. Okay, great. It is a massive mixed-use development that will transform an underutilized site into a hub for innovation and creativity. The project includes lab spaces, residential buildings, a hotel, an all-timber conference center, and ample public green space. It also sets new benchmarks within the city for affordability and DEI commitments for a development of its size, which I think is really admirable. Before Chris takes the stage, I would be remiss in not echoing precisely what James Scott said about the efforts and the dedication of both Chris Whittier and Patrick Downey at Acre. So let's give another round of applause for their amazing efforts. So Chris, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I have the pleasure of introducing the ERC, the Enterprise Research Campus, but as was alluded to, there are actually a few other people in this room who are working on this project. So Adam, Neil, and Rohit, raise your hands. We've got when Harvard wanted to develop their real estate, they called MIT. But as he said, I work for Tishman Speyer. We're a global real estate investment manager, developer. We have a big presence here in Boston, and the ERC is really our preeminent flagship project that we have going on in the world right now. I'll show you a few pretty pictures in a second, but I think the story of the ERC is the most compelling thing about it. And I should say this is not endorsed by Tishman Speyer or Harvard University. This is sort of my telling of the story, but it's really a tale of two institutions, MIT and Harvard. When we think about MIT, what is at the core of its academic mission is about getting technology and science out into the world, having practical applications. And I think that's a little bit different than how Harvard thought about research and technology. And it played out in two very different ways. But as we've seen the development of Kendall Square and the ability of MIT to attract talent, to create industry partnerships, I think there was a real awakening moment within the University of Harvard, and the ERC is the response to that awakening. We have the benefit of going second. We got to see how Kendall Square developed, and so we've learned from all of the great things that have happened here, but also been able to sort of iterate on how you create an innovation community. So how do we do that? This first phase of the ERC, one of the most important things to Harvard and also to Tishman was that we can't just plop down 5 lab buildings. We need to create a neighborhood where organic connections, the type that are going to foster innovation, incredible science, happen. And you need to have places to eat. you need to have places for people to live, for people to stay. And so this first phase of the project has about 500,000 square feet of life science, but it also has 350 units of rental housing, a 250 key hotel, a mass timber conference center that we were building, which will be the central conferencing facility for Harvard University. And it's all anchored around this really incredible 2-acre greenway. Here's a picture. The site is changing very rapidly every day. This is about 2 weeks old, so a lot more facade work has happened. But in order to do this, we could not phase this development. It had to be a single execution, which from a capital standpoint was incredibly challenging. This is about a $1.5 billion project. We closed on a $750 million construction loan, the largest construction loan issued in the US in 2023. And it's all built on one plate of parking, subgrade parking. And so we have about 600 people working on the project every day right now. It's a massive undertaking, but we needed to deliver all of these components concurrently to achieve that goal of creating an innovation ecosystem. So very challenging, but a really fun thing to work on. So just stepping into the parts a little bit here, these are just a few views of the master plan. The anchor of this project is life science. And one milestone is our life science component of the project, really robust lab building, designed by Jeannie Gang from Studio Gang and also Henning Larsen. One thing I should note that was also very important to Harvard and to Tishman Speyer is we didn't want all of these buildings to look like they had appeared overnight. So we actually used 5 different design architects. In the case of this building, there were actually 2 different design architects to make the project feel much more organic and not like something that had just sort of gone up speculatively overnight. So here's a couple other views of the lab building. Lab market is obviously very challenged right now. What we like to say is if you're looking for cheap lab space, we're probably not your project. If you're coming to our project, like our first tenant, which has leased about 100,000 square feet of the building, you have a real reason to want to be there, and it's to collaborate with Harvard. So they have an AI partnership with the Kempner Institute, which is at the Seas building next door, and pretty much all of the tenants that we're talking to either have existing or planned research collaborations with the university. So that's been able to differentiate our leasing strategy, but it is, again, still a very challenging moment for lab. And this building was really designed for collaboration. So these are just some ground floor spaces. Sometimes when you see lab buildings, they can be a little utilitarian and feel a little bit of private. And the idea with this building was to get people down and out of the labs on the ground floor, having conversations and driving innovation. This is a view of the hotel, so it's not going to be flagged. We are about to unveil this in about 2 weeks, so you'll get the sneak peek, but this is going to be called the Atlas Hotel. It is a brand that we are launching from Tishman Speyer. And if you think about what an atlas is, it's a collection of maps. The idea is that so many different people, both locally and globally, are going to be coming to this campus. And so the atlas is meant to be a reflection of all of those experiences. And it will have a great rooftop bar where you have views from basically the casino to Blue Hills. So AACRE holiday party will be there next year, I think. These are just a couple of views. Residential, we have about 350 units of residential. Really challenging product to build. Just to give you a little bit of an anecdote, Rohit can keep me honest, but total cost of this building is about $950,000 per unit. So you do the math. It's a very essential part of the project, and we need to be building more housing, but high-rise construction costs. This building would not be possible without the subsidy from the lab building. And then the most exciting building on the campus, Tishman Speyer will not own. This is something that we're doing on behalf of Harvard University, but this is the David Rubenstein Treehouse Conference Center. It is the first mass timber building of its size. Pretty much everything except the elevator cores is made from CLT or wood. And you can see here, normally, I will tell you, when you design your first mass timber building, do not make it look like this. This is not what you want to build out of wood. Cantilevers, large spans, wood doesn't want to do this. But luckily, we have a really great team that we were working with, and you can see the canopy ballroom here that'll be able to host events of up to 750 people. Nice little nerd thing to keep in mind about this building. Embodied carbon is the name of the game in sort of reducing the impact of development on the environment. And in this building, we went to great lengths to limit embodied carbon. So all of the wood you see, it actually wasn't shipped down from Canada or put on trains. We figured out that it was actually better to harvest the wood in Austria, fabricate it, put it on one ship, and ship it across the ocean. From an embodied carbon standpoint, that was better than putting it on a train coming down from Canada or on trucks. So very forward-thinking building in terms of sustainability, and we're really excited with how it's going to turn out. Finally, the Greenway is being designed by Scape. This is something that will be activated throughout the year. And Tishman Speyer, we own Rockefeller Center in New York. We're going to be bringing our public art program from Rockefeller Center to the Greenway here. So it's designed to be not just passive space, but a space where people can gather, whether it's the existing neighbors in Allston, the people working in the labs, or people visiting for executive education. We're really excited with how it's going to turn out. Just a couple things to end on. Sustainability, Harvard has incredibly bright minds thinking about sustainability, as well as our own bright minds here at MIT. And they really push the envelope in terms of what we are providing from a sustainability standpoint. So all of these buildings are all electric with the exception of the lab. And everything will be carbon neutral on day one. And then finally, the thing that we are most proud about, and this can be a tricky subject at the moment, depending on what you're listening to in the news, but this is something that we at Tishman Speyer are really proud that we could do with the city of Boston. Our DEI framework was really robust for this. We put together capacity building project JVs on the CM side. We have been really, really aggressive in our procurement and our labor in terms of working with smaller businesses. And this project actually had the largest DEI equity raise of its kind. About 5% of the equity, $30 million, came from minority investors, which is really one of a kind for an institutional project like this. So with that, I will wrap up, but I will say, when I was sitting in Bill Wheaton's class not all that long ago, I probably couldn't have imagined that only 5 years into my career, I'd be working on something of this scale, but that was in no small part or due to all the people in this room. So really, really proud to have graduated from the program and had the opportunity to work on something like this.